Hello everyone and welcome back to Naomi's Bookshelf for my December wrap-up, which is my crazy 12-month book wrap-up, which I did not expect. I don't think I read 3 books by the end of the second week, and then I just plowed through the other 9, I guess. So we're just gonna start off with the first book that I read. It was a short story and it's by Agatha Christie. It's The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding. Fun story about my book that I ordered. I had ordered it and it came in French after many delays and I was a little upset. So I read the e-copy of it. I bought the ebook. Yeah, it was good. It's about Poirot going to this manor trying to recover an important artifact for a prince, and he uncovers a mystery kind of in the family. It's a really short one. I didn't love it as much. It was good, but it was also kind of flat for me, kind of predictable because I have read a lot of her other work and I saw a lot of the same trends pop up in this one. But also I felt like in some ways it's just too short, and I think that's a me thing because I don't like short stories. I try my best to enjoy them, but it's just something I really struggle with, and I think this one was just too short. So that was my problem with that. The next one that I read was The Heist by Janet Ivanovich and Lee Goldberg. Now this one was written as a duo, but my uncle recommended it to me. He saw me reading Born Identity and was shocked that I was interested in that kind of thing, and then suggested to me to read The Heist. And I did not know what I was getting it for. I picked it up on a whim. It was on the library on the Overdrive app, so I just picked up the audiobook and like flew through it. I listened to it straight. Now, for some reason, heist I think is a trigger word for me when it comes to books that I enjoy. I didn't think that was the thing before I read this one. I'm like, actually no, that's probably what I just look for in a book, is a good heist, at least in some books. So this one was really good. I gave it 4 stars, and it was kind of cringy at parts, but it was just so action-packed. Basically, it follows Kate O'Hare as she is trying to track down the con man Nicholas Fox. And yes, that is his name in Zootopia. I'm aware, not Nicholas Fox, but Nicholas Wilde as a fox. It's kind of interesting because he's a con man, and it's about her catching him. And then the book happens, and I cannot tell you any more. It was so action-packed and so driven with characters and interesting storytelling. I loved like all of it. It was just such a great reading experience, and it was mindless but also not. And through the book you see a lot of different cons. I will say this much, I'm not trying not to spoil anything, so I'm doing my best. But through the book you see a lot of different cons, and it's interesting when, like, even at the beginning of the book, the first con that you see, it's about, like, you see it from the perspective of the victim who's seeing everything as real, and then you see it from the perspective of the con man who is like, oh, like, I can't wait to get this wig off kind of thing. And it's just such a well-written book. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't perfect, but it was just what I needed to kick me off into this big reading spree, because it genuinely just was like such a fun book and so action-packed, and it's a series and I can't wait for book 2. So I really recommend The Heist if you want a good, fun, like, kind of mystery one. Yeah, and I can't even tell you beyond that she catches him and then the book happens, because it's about cons and there's all these different cons, heists, and whatever else, and it's just really amazing. So yeah, check out The Heist if you haven't, and if you have, please tell me if you know of other books like that, because that is what I apparently love in my books, is just a quick, easy, fast-paced con or heist. So let me know if you know any heist books down below. So the next one that I read was The Christmas Carol, or A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I always say that wrong. So this one was 5 stars, loved it. It's about Scrooge as he meets 3 ghosts who show him his past, present, and future of what will happen if he does not change his ways and stop being such a curmudgeon about Christmas. Yep, love the classic, love the book. Great. I did do a weekly vlog on it, which I did terrible at, but it is down below if you want to see my thoughts and some of the illustrations inside. I will link it. So yeah, really good one. Always love reading this at Christmas. The next one that I read, my cousins and I have been reading this book for a month and a half. maybe even 2 months, and we're just taking our time, which is really fun. But we finished Titan's Curse, which is the 3rd book in the Percy Jackson series, or like the first series about Percy Jackson by Rick Riordan. And wow, I mean, this series is so great. I love following Percy in his new adventure, and the new people that he meets along the way. I really enjoyed Bianca's character, and Nico, and Zoe, and everyone in this book. Basically, if you haven't picked up Percy Jackson, I know I'm behind on the game, but if you haven't picked up Percy Jackson, you should, no matter what your age is, because it's about Percy, who finds out that his parent, his father, is one of the Roman gods, and then from there he gets quests and different things happen. And I don't want to give too much about it. Even in the first book, who his father is kind of a spoiler, as it happens partway through, but I really do enjoy this series and following Percy as he grows up. And it's something where I really am enjoying this and not struggling my way through, because I love Percy and all the different characters that he meets along the way. And Grover, can I just say, Grover's pretty amazing. So clearly I gave this one 5 stars. The next one that I finished was, I was reading it the whole time I was reading the other books, and it was Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I did a big review on it for my new series, in which I discuss and review big giant classics with you all. So I will link it down below as well if you want to go check out my thoughts on Little Women. I think it's great. I love how it follows family and decisions and independence and what is expected of a woman, and how they challenge those norms in some ways, right after the Civil War or during the Civil War. So yeah, really recommend this one, love it. And if you want to get on the Louisa May 2020 read-along train, it's not too late. But I definitely recommend this one if you are not going to read anything else. That's a classic. I recommend, well, that's a bit drastic. I recommend this one to anyone. It's really great, and I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I think it's worth a read, even if you don't love it as much as I do. So this one has got a 5 stars. So the next one that I read is not, I don't know, not the most amazing piece of literature ever, but I love it. And that is A Texas Legacy Christmas by Diane Mills. This one I have read for several Christmases now in a row, and I will continue to do so. It's just such a quick read since I know what's happening, and I love the characters and the adoptive father aspect that Zach contains. That Zach is an adoptive father, and he meets up with Chloe, who is very much just trying to make ends meet, but they have a history, and I really actually want to pick up the rest of the books in the series because I want to see more of them, but I think it's just so great, especially with the adoptive aspect. I think that's why I love this one so much, because of the 2 kids that Zach adopts and how they play a part in the romance. Really love it. It's not perfect, so I gave it 4 stars, but if you're wanting a kind of cheesy, sappy, Christmas, clean romance, take this one. So taking a complete 180 from A Texas Christmas Legacy, or Texas Legacy Christmas, I read The Snowman by Joe Nesbo finally, and wow, this one shocked me. I did not expect to enjoy it this much, but also to be creeped out so much. So this one follows Harry Hole as he kind of figures out some women are missing, and he doesn't understand why, aside from the fact that there's a creepy snowman or snowman staring at their houses when they disappear. So it's interesting how that kind of plays a big part in it. And it kind of follows his team as they try to solve this mystery and try to solve this case before enough women go missing and get murdered. So it was very gritty, it was very dark, it was very intense, and I couldn't put it down. Even the gross parts, I'm like, I need to keep reading, I need to figure out what's happening in this book. And even there, like, there's a subplot in this that I am convinced is going to play a big part in the next book after this one, which I cannot find at my used bookstore, so I'm going to wait till I can find it. But there was a subplot in this one that's like, something's going to be, it's a big part of some book, and I'm positive the next book. But this book was just so well written and so well crafted. It definitely creeped me out and spooked me in a way. And the whole snowman aspect of this book, like all the snowmen in the book, were really intriguing, the different way they were used. So I really recommend this if you're wanting like a gritty serial killer translated book. Like, this is a great one. I really enjoyed this, like I said, and I totally am gonna read the next, at least I'm gonna read book 1 and probably more, because yeah, I mean, it's not always something I want to read gritty, but if I'm going to buy something gritty, I'm gonna pick up one of these, because wow, this was good. Considering the lack of bodies, it was creepy and gross. Well, there were some bodies, so you know, but it's just really great, and I love the different twists and turns and the red herrings and all of that above. So yeah, really great one. The next one that I read was Coffee, Tea, or Me by Rich Amui. Now this one I started in the summer, and then I put it down because it's a Kindle book, and then I got a prompt for the Magical Readathon to read a pink or purple book, and I was like, let's just finish the one I started. And so I picked it back up again and finished it. Now this one was not bad. It was, I don't know. It's hard to describe how I feel about it because it did nothing wrong in the sense of the word, but it didn't keep me engaged. I put it down for 6 months and I didn't really care. And then when I was trying to read it, I was like, I have to force myself to finish this book because I want to drop that and pick up something more interesting. But yet it did nothing wrong. So I think I landed on a 3-star for it. It wasn't bad. Did nothing wrong, like I've been saying, but I don't know. It follows Jack, I believe his name is. I can't even remember their names right now, and I read not too long ago. Susie is the girl name, I know that much. So I think it's Jack, and he owns a coffee store, and he's been just introduced to investors who want to turn it into like the newest Starbucks kind of thing, where he'll have a chain, get a lot more money, etc., etc. And Susie moves in literally just as this deal's about to go through, and she opens up a tea store, a tea shop where she sells tea and scones and whatnot. And suddenly she starts taking away a lot of his business. So then it becomes a rivalry of him trying to hurt her and her trying to hurt him with like promotional tactics and business things. And all the while they fall in love. It's a romance, and it wasn't bad. I don't know. It fell flat. I didn't really care too much. And then, I mean, I liked it, but then I wasn't like wanting, like I could put it down and then I'd forget to pick it back up until I was like, no, I need to finish this book. So I don't know what that says about it. I gave it a 3. If you're interested, totally pick it up. Like I said, nothing wrong, but it just didn't hit the spot with me. So yeah, 3 stars. The next one that I read was my other Dickens, which was The Cricket on the Hearth. The Hearth? I never can say it right, and I know it's ridiculous, but I'm just gonna keep going. So anyways, I read it. It was, I don't know. In a way, I felt like I didn't really understand how it's so acclaimed, but then I also was like, maybe it was just my headspace that I was in. My migraine was bad that day. Maybe I just didn't get it. But I think on a reread it'll be better, so I might even reread it before, because I have it for a buddy read, and I don't even remember what happened. So I remember because it follows a cricket who's on, it's 3 different chapters, and it follows him on different hearths as I'm sorry, if I said that wrong, I'm going to annoy everybody, but that's what I'm gonna do. So it follows him as he's sitting on these different hearths at these 3 different homes, who are all like, one is really poor and really embracing the spirit of Christmas, and the other one of them is not. One of them is very much against the spirit of Christmas, like very much against Christmas and giving and generosity and all that stuff. And then I can't remember what the third one was, but it was an interesting telling, but I also just don't remember much of it. So I gave it 3 stars at the time because I feel like I didn't get it all, but I'm gonna probably reread it before I do talk about it with my buddy read. So maybe I can understand more. So I might be talking about this again in January's wrap up if I do reread it. But 3 stars. Maybe I'm gonna try reading it again next year at the very least, so I can try to understand it better on a reread. So that's at least what I'm gonna do. Otherwise, yeah, 3 stars for now. Maybe I'll change it when I reread it. The next book that I read was kind of a disappointment. It's The Fingerprint by Patricia Wentworth. Now this one I had kind of been told is like Miss Marple. It follows Miss Silver, who is a detective or private detective, and she goes and she helps discover the truth about a murder that happens in this person's home and what happened with that whole situation. Now, this felt like a second-rate Miss Marple. It doesn't help her. It doesn't help it that I love Agatha Christie, and so her Miss Marple series is also probably one of my favorite mystery series because of just how good Miss Marple is. But yeah, no, I didn't enjoy this one at all. Well, at all. I gave it 3 stars. It was an interesting plot at points, but it was very repetitive, and you could kind of see things from a mile off, at least for me. And then things like she'd introduce, sorry, my eye is itchy. She'd introduce a character and then tell us like 5 different times about this character, and I just didn't enjoy it. So I gave it 3 stars. I might knock it down to a 2. It was not a bad mystery. I did enjoy the mystery aspect and how the mystery was developed, but I was overall disappointed in the whole thing. It just fell flat, and it was not... I might as well tell you what the mystery is. Not the mystery, what the storyline like starts off with. So it follows this family, specifically Uncle Jonathan and his niece and one of a young lady who he's taken into his care, kind of like an adoptive uncle, kind of. And so it follows him as he has a collection of fingerprints that he has collected over the years, and one of the fingerprints he tells a story about to everyone, how that fingerprint came from a man who murdered someone, that he had heard him say that during one of the Blitz in London. He had been trapped in the rubble with this man, he had heard the story, and he collected the fingerprint off of the cup that he had been holding. And then he soon dies after telling this story. Meanwhile, he also changed his will and different things like that. And so the police are like, oh, we know who did it. And Miss Silver comes in and she's investigating the whole thing. I didn't really like Miss Silver. And I also felt like it was kind of contrived or forced in some ways, but I did like the mystery element that was there, the whole mystery storyline. But I could see it too from a mile off. So I gave it 3 stars. I don't know if I'm going to change my rating or not on it, but it just did not live up to expectations. And I don't think I'll continue on with this author, but I'm glad I finally read it. I've had this book on my shelves for 2 years now, and it's about time I read it and got it off of my to-be-read shelf and probably off my shelves entirely. So the next book that I can show you, or the only last book I can show you, because I didn't read an ebook after this, but this one I got as a recommendation from Sarah, and this one is Linda Lale Miller's A Creed Country Christmas. And this one I actually put on hold like back in May or something when Sarah reviewed it, and then I had it out from the library now. And it follows Lincoln, who is a widower, and he needs a governess or a nanny or a wife to help take care of his daughter. And then you also meet Juliana, who was a teacher at a residential school, and she's been since let go from the job, and she has taken 5 of the kids with her, or 4 of the kids with her. Can't remember the exact number now. I think it's 4. So she's taken those kids with her, trying to get them home, and she is in trouble with the government for doing so. So here's the thing. It was really good. I enjoyed the plot. I really enjoyed how the different dynamics of it developed. It was a very quick read. And then about 50 pages from the end, it started getting graphic, and I didn't like it anymore. I still think the characters were really interesting and really engaging. And I really did enjoy how the whole resolution came about, but I also felt like that was a little, I don't know, cheesy. So I gave this one 4 stars. It was good, aside from that last 50 pages that I was a little disappointed in having to skip whole pages. But that's just me, that's not the book problem, so I gave it 4 stars for a really good plot and really great characters. And the last book that I read this month, it's a lot of books, was The End of the Magi by Patrick W. Carr. Now this one was good. I really enjoyed this one. I did get a copy off of NetGalley after the Biblical Fiction Buffs. It was announced that we were going to be reading this one. So I tried to get it on NetGalley, and I did. So I left a review of it on my Goodreads if you want to go check that out. But yeah, it follows the last Magi as Murad goes and tries to survive the slaughter of Magi in his hometown, where his father, who was his adoptive father, was a Magi and was teaching him the ways. So it kind of follows that, but also follows him just trying to survive, trying to get to Israel, because he's had the dream of the star. And then he meets up with other Magi, and he meets up with a cavern, and he gets this kind of adventure that he didn't plan on. I also really loved how he had a clubbed foot, and it really impacted his abilities, but it didn't impact him as a person. Like, you didn't feel like, oh, there's the clubbed foot character. He was a person. And I also really loved how he viewed himself with that disability, but yet others viewed him because, like, in more better or more amazing because of the disability. They could see how he was so courageous and non-stop trying in spite of all his troubles. So it was really great. It follows him as he goes along with his caravan, with the other Magi, trying to find the new king. I think it did a really good job of capturing the turmoil of the country at that time, or of the countries, as Rome was taking over. I felt like it also did a really good job of fleshing out the different characters and making me feel invested in the story. I started reading, and I think I started reading like I read the prologue, and then I couldn't continue, and then I just sat down and read the entire thing in like a day and a half because I wanted to know what happened next. It was very, very good, and if this was a series, I would totally pick up book number 2. It's not, and it felt like it was ended on a good part, but really, really enjoyed the end of the Magi. Definitely one of the highlights for biblical fiction this year. I didn't read that many, but I want to change that next year, but it was a highlight for sure of the month, so I gave it 5 stars. So those are the 12 books that I read in December. They are a wide variety of types, but I really enjoyed them for the most part. And I hope that next year we can go on a swing up, because I'm finally kicking my stride back in with my reading. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it's a good sign for 2020. Please leave a comment down below if you've read any of these books and want to discuss them. I will also link below my Little Women review along with my vlog for A Christmas Carol if you want to watch those as well. But please let me know down below what was your favorite book that you read over Christmas or in December, and I will see you with my next video soon. Bye for now.